We had a big showdown between the top two teams in the East. Hall of Fame legends clash once again in the Berg. The Ducks continue to surprise, and the Blues receive a message from their head coach. Details coming up on this edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL during the regular season and the playoffs. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com, and you can win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast. He is Shukri Wrights, a Boston Bruins fan on the East Coast. Together, we're here to tell you about all the goals, saves, big moments, and stories from the night in the NHL with a big assist from some of our local Locked On experts. And Shu, another interesting night in the National Hockey League.
Another night in which that some games have you entertained, some games leave you perplexed, and some games leave you pissed off. And if you're any of those emotions, I'm here to be your muse. I'm here to help you in this episode.
Well, I'll admit it. I'm a little grumpy because my team didn't win tonight, but that's later on in the show. Let us start, though, with the matchup of the night, maybe the best matchup so far early in this young NHL season. Yeah. The Montreal Canadiens leading the Atlantic Division against the New Jersey Devils leading the Metropolitan Division. This one at the Rock in New Jersey. And this one was close, competitive, and ended in overtime where the Devils get a 4-3 victory. Let's check in with the new host of Locked On New Jersey Devils, and that is Zach Berman.
Here prepared to tell you about how this was the most frustrating, infuriating loss of the year for the New Jersey Devils, where they were just outplayed and out-hustled the entire third period after going up 2-1 in the second. However, on a night that ultimately proves that, hey, maybe this team is different, Timo Meier with the goalie pulled late in the third period, rips the monkey off his back, ties the game, and in overtime, Jesper Bratt wins the game 4-3. The Devils defeat the Montreal Canadiens, pick up their 10th win of the year. Dougie Hamilton left the game in the second period with an injury. Another injury to this defensive core. Oh my God. But hey, this is one that says a lot about the character of this team, where against a good opponent, Montreal is the best in the Atlantic. They fought back, they battled late in the game, tied it, and then finished the job in overtime.
All right, good stuff from Zach Berman. Appreciate the info. Got the nice atmosphere there at the Prudential Center as well. People chanting, having a good time. And yeah, this was a fun game, a fun finish, certainly for the New Jersey Devils getting this win. They're now 5-0 at home, 10-4 overall, and 20 points on the season with this big win over the Montreal Canadiens.
First and foremost, welcome to Locked On, Zach Berman. Number two, wow. I mean, if you got the chance to watch the episode on YouTube, you could literally see and feel the atmosphere that was very festive of fans leaving the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. And let me tell you something in terms of this game. You want to see a test of will? That was it. You wanted to see a test of character, as Zach Berman eloquently alluded to? That was it. You wanted to see a team that many people are now really believing in the Montreal Canadiens show up and play a pretty good game up until a certain point? You got that too. But as far as the Devils are concerned, I can't sit here and tell you enough about how much this win really mattered in terms of character, grit, and just simply not giving up. And the truth is, and what you alluded to, Eddie, along with the fact that they haven't lost at home yet, they're now 6-0-0. The point is that you talk about reaching into the back pocket of will. That was it. I mean, you got to give credit to Jesper Bratt, who scored on the breakaway a minute and 33 seconds into OT as the defining moment. But man, that third period was one in which that you want to talk about. If you're a hockey fan, you got a little bit of everything tonight, drama, just a good comeback story. This was it. And listen, and the truth is, for a Montreal Canadiens team who had won the first 5 games that ended in overtime this season, you thought that, well, the Devils, maybe tonight's not their night. But they continue to prove the naysayers wrong. And man, what a game and what a finish. And I can't say enough about the performance of our goaltenders, Jacob Dobesh, who, yes, he made the 24 saves, and as well as how he's performed up to this point. But you also got to give credit to Jacob Markstrom for keeping the Devils in it as well.
Yeah, first loss of the year for Montreal netminder Jakob Dobic. He was 6-0 coming in, but the Devils get a nice win. Meanwhile, it's always nice when it's Sid versus Ovi as the Penguins are hosting the Capitals' 99th all-time meeting, including playoffs, between Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin. Crosby gets the upper hand in this one, personally and team-wise, as the Penguins win at 5-3, and Crosby scores a pair of goals. He's tied for the league lead right now with 11. We'll tell you who he's tied with a little bit later on. But let's get a report on this one. From the losing side, it's the host of Locked On Washington Capitals. It is Dan Holme.
To the Penguins by a score of 5-3. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals. Well, a recipe for failure is to spend too much time on the penalty kill, and that is exactly what the Capitals did in this game in the first period. They were on the PK 3 times, and guess what? Sidney Crosby made them pay, scoring 2 power play goals in the first period alone. But giving the Capitals credit where credit is due, they staged a comeback, being down by 3 with 10 minutes into the second period. Goals by Strome, Sandin, and Wilson, and also a goal ruled offsides by Ryan Leonard showed some pushback by this team, but ultimately discipline and execution is what got drawn into focus. But, concentrating on the bright spots here, like I said, Tom Wilson scoring a goal, extending his point streak to 4 games. Has put up 9 goals, team leading 9 goals, so some good, some bad. Coming off a big win against the Blues, they got brought back down to reality as they fall to the Penguins by a score of 5-3.
And we thank Dan Holme for that report. For the big names in this one, we talked about Sidney Crosby. Alexander Ovechkin had 2 assists in the loss, and Evgeny Malkin picked up his 17th assist on the season. That's tied with Connor McDavid for the league lead. But this Penguins team continues to surprise. They are tied with New Jersey atop the Metro. Each have 20 points, although the Pens have played 1 more game. But Pittsburgh continuing to get it done. And Arthur Sheloff's in net, allowed 3 goals on 31 shots. He's going to have to go for a while with Tristan Jarry now injured and out. But another surprising win, another surprising effort from the Penguins, not from Sidney Crosby, as he continues to tell Father Time to beat it. But always nice again when it's Crosby and Ovechkin.
Oh, certainly. And these are the games and the matchups that we all have to savor, because we truly just don't know how many more of these we have left. And it's been an absolute privilege to watch the Crosby versus Ovechkin rivalry over the last 20 years. And tonight was simply no different. But this one had a little bit more meaning because of the fact that, hey, the surprise team in the NHL this season, the Pittsburgh Penguins, because how many of you honestly and truthfully had them being either in first or tied for first in the Metropolitan Division at this point of the season? Be honest. Not many people did. And then 2, what you're seeing in regards to Crosby playing up to this point, with the way that he's been able to score goals, shouldn't surprise anybody. However, what is surprising is for me to see the way that it's not just Crosby and Malkin that's just been turning back the clock in 2025, 2026, but it's the support that they have gotten from the supporting players, most namely Brian Rust, who scored the go-ahead goal in this game in the third period and had the 2 assists as well. And then as well, not to be forgotten about Ben Kendall as well. So for me, it's Sidney Crosby in his ho-hum performance, Malkin, his ho-hum performance, but then the supporting cast, as I mentioned, Brian Rush, who has been consistently doing it from day one this season, and as well as Ben Kendall, who stepped up huge tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But for Ovechkin, a game after scoring his 900th NHL goal, can you believe that? 900 goals? He had 2 assists. So for the Capitals, they're still trying to figure out who and what they are. And man, but this was one heck of a game tonight in Pittsburgh.
And the Golden Knights hosting the Lightning. Tampa Bay looking like they're getting back on track after a 1-4-2 start. They've won 6 of 7, including a 6-3 win over Vegas. The big names coming up big late in this one. Nikita Kucherov, 2 third-period goals, both on the power play, numbers 6 and 7. And Brandon Hagel, also 2 third-period goals, number 5 and 6 on the season for him. So Tampa Bay, again, looking like they're back on track after a sluggish start.
Oh, they certainly are. And offensively, this was the team that we saw tonight that looked like the Tampa Bay Lightning of yesteryear, let's say just 2-3 years ago, where they were just dangerous offensively from anywhere in the lineup. And you saw that tonight. Kucherov, no surprise. Brandon Hagel, no surprise. Both providing the vast majority of the offense for the Lightning. And ultimately, also, not to be outdone, don't forget about Dominic James, who had the goal and as well as an assist for his first career 3 NHL points for the Lightning, who continue to show why that the start that they're off to and the fact that they're able to turn around after such a slow start is no coincidence, because they're getting contributions from up and down the lineup as well.
All right, not much D in Big D. We'll give you the details on that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone. But sometimes you need to get a little extra support in your performance, and that is where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms or in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet.com, Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL, and you'll get 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet.com, Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use the code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Let's get to our next game. That was in Dallas, where the Stars were hosting the high-flying Ducks, and the Ducks leading the Pacific Division, winners of 5 in a row after beating the Dallas Stars in a 7-5 shootout. Let's get a report on this one from the host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks, and that is Kyle Carr.
In Dallas, as the Ducks were down 2-0 going into the second, and then they come away with a 7-5 win. That's 4 games where they have scored 7 goals out of the 13 games they've played. Absolutely killing it in the goals column. Cutter Gauthier gets another one, leading the league in goals. You had Ian Moore get his first goal finally and first point. We had Olin Zellweger get his first goal of the season. So this team is buzzing. There's a lot of love and fun to have for the Anaheim Ducks right now. Absolutely killing it. 5 in a row. They are on a tear. The Ducks are doing great. They are fun to watch. Tune into more Ducks games if you haven't yet. Fly together.
All right, thanks to Kyle Carr for that report. He was having trouble remembering all the goals because there were 7 of them, as I said, but Chris Kreider had 2 as well, numbers 8 and 9 for him, so it is a nice mix of young and old getting it done in Anaheim. And he mentioned Cutter Gauthier, 11 goals. That is tied with Sidney Crosby for the most in the NHL.
Second consecutive game for the Ducks in which they scored 7 goals. a touchdown and an extra point for football naysayers. Just saying. But on all seriousness, you talk about what this Ducks team has been all season long, and for me tonight was really much more. It was really more of the same in terms of offensive performances from the veterans like Kreider, for example, and as well as the younger guys like Cutter Gauthier, who you just mentioned. He's tied with Sidney Crosby for the most goals in the NHL, and Leo Carlson. But then also, you're seeing like guys like Troy Terry step up with 2 assists each, but not to be forgotten about the veterans like Alex Killorn, 2 assists as well. So you're seeing the contributions up and down the lineup offensively for a team that they have found their offensive groove under Joel Quenneville, and that's pretty impressive to see how the skill and the system has all meshed together in Anaheim.
And Kyle is right. They are fun to watch. Sometimes they don't play a lot of defense, but they can score, and they certainly outscored Dallas for this win. Anaheim on top in the Pacific, which nobody predicted. 9-3-1 the record so far this season. The Bruins were hosting the Senators. Last week, these two teams met in Ottawa, and the Senators absolutely crushed the Bruins, who I thought quit in the third period of this game. And they have responded, though, after that. I'm sure there were some harsh words. I'm sure there were some closed-door meetings. And since then, they've gone on a winning streak. And now the rematch against the Senators, on home ice, they win it 3-2 in overtime. Let's get a check on this one from the host of Locked On Boston Bruins, and that is Ian McLaren.
Trade Pavel Zacha. The Boston Bruins are going streaking to the tune of 5 wins in a row, thanks to an overtime winner against the Ottawa Senators by Pavel Zacha, whose name has been in trade rumors and reports dating back to last season, but he's showing how integral he is to this team on a nightly basis. Charlie McAvoy drawing the assist on the game-winning goal. He's quietly off to a great start as well, although he's still searching for his first goal of the season. Morgan Geekie had his 10th. He remains a big story for this team this year with his red-hot shooting. And again, the Bruins, season of ups and downs. 3-game win streak, 6-game losing streak, 5-game win streak now. They're 2 games over 500. And a couple big games coming up. Another against Ottawa next week after they take on the Toronto Maple Leafs this weekend.
All right, thanks to Ian McLaren for that. And Jonas Korpisalo, 2 goals on 22 shots, the number 2 goalie getting the win in that one. But we talked about it earlier. That was an embarrassing effort in Ottawa, and to the Bruins' credit, they have responded ever since that game.
I mean, they've been red fire. I mean, on fire. I said red fire. I mean, they are red fire right now. So, you know what? Let's just run with that. They are red fire. 5 games in a row, like, since that embarrassment. And listen, Pavel Zacha scoring a little, pretty much like as quick as light thunder, like in overtime in 5.6 seconds into OT, no less. So, listen, as far as the Bruins are concerned, the thing that's left me impressed in this stretch is that they're finding different ways to win, and they're finding ways to get the job done. And it was a huge like team win for this team in terms of finding a way to muster through the injuries. Like, you know, like a couple of guys leaving the game tonight. This was a team that, in more ways than one, I think they're starting to find their mojo again. And listen, Morgan Geekie, I mean, I don't think enough has been talked about in terms of the kind of goal scorer that he's become since becoming a Boston Bruin. And you saw it again tonight. And also, welcome back Sean Corrali. He also scored tonight. So for me, this is a Bruins team that has found a new level of confidence so far during the stretch, and it's been great to see the Bruins like finally put it all together.
Meanwhile, my LA Kings are still trying to put it all together. They were hosting the Florida Panthers, and the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions would pull away in the third period in this one for a 5-2 road win. Let's check in with one of our local experts, the host of Locked On Florida Panthers. It's Armando Velez.
Letting the game get away from them on Tuesday in Anaheim, the Panthers do the exact opposite and flip the script, and they defeat the LA Kings by a final score of 5-2. And for the Panthers, they were lucky to get out of the first period tied as the LA Kings had the ice tilted in their direction. The Panthers came into the night only 3 goals off of rebounds, and they did it twice on the night. The Panthers had 4 different goal scorers, including Brad Marchand getting on the score sheet twice, 10 different point getters for the Panthers on the night, and the Panthers had more shots on goal shorthanded than they did on the power play. And one little tweak on the penalty kill made the difference, as Anton Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen were reunited, and they got a breakaway to break it open for the Panthers. We're going to break all this down and more on tomorrow's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, your team every day.
All right, thanks to Armando Velez for that. And Sergei Bobrovsky had a nice game, 2 goals allowed on 26 shots in this one. But obviously, I'm the host of Locked On LA Kings as well, and the Kings are coming off a great 3-0 shutout of Winnipeg, their best win of the year, and it was hoped that that would launch them to getting on track here and get something going to string some wins together. But I don't want to say back to the drawing board, but this was not what they were hoping for, as the Kings continue to be a very inconsistent team so far this year.
And, Eddie, I send you a virtual hug, and to you and every Kings fan that is out there, because I don't get it. Like, this is a team that many people, including myself, expected to contend in the West and in the Pacific Division. But this 4-game homestand has been nothing less than brutal. 1-2-1. And I'm not going to sit here and dump on the Kings, because I know you're hurting right now, Eddie. So I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do, and I am going to be fair and critical, is I don't understand, why is it that the Kings cannot seem to find their game on a consistent level, and you're seeing the Florida Panther team, a 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion team, despite the issues that they've had of their own tonight, they look like the defending Stanley Cup champions. And the truth is that, when you're seeing guys like Brad Marchand continue to help carry the mantle offensively, that's got to leave you feeling good if you're a Panthers fan. And as well as to talk about the contribution up and down the lineup, Anton Lundell had a short-handed goal in this one. Like Sam Reinhart, he scored. No surprise there. But man, Nico Mikkola, one of the underrated players on this Panthers team, he came up huge with 2 apples in this game. In which the Panthers, they're getting hot now, and they've gone 3-1-1 in the last 5 games.
Well, the St. Louis Blues got sent a message by their head coach, and for at least one night, that message was received. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we've got our final group of games, and let's start in Buffalo, where the Sabres are hosting the Blues. And St. Louis struggling on the season. They were coming off a 6-1 loss the night before to the Washington Capitals. Head coach Jim Montgomery laying down the law after that loss. This is, again, back-to-back games. They had a morning skate this morning after playing the night before. Usually you don't see that when you're playing back-to-back games. And then he benched star forward Jordan Kyrou, healthy scratch in this one. Message received, at least for this one game, as the Blues get a 3-0 shutout win over the Sabres. Matthew Joseph with a shorthanded goal in the first period. Nick Bukestad a goal in the second, and then Justin Falk empty net goal in the third in support of netminder Joel Hofer, who had 28 saves in the shutout. So I guess the good news is for St. Louis, when your coach does something like this and makes a big statement, if you don't listen, then you know there are major problems. So at least for this one game, the message was received. The coach had to do something. He did. And for the St. Louis Blues, at least for this one game, they did respond.
And what a response it was. And I think that for the Blues, that has been among the biggest disappointments in the NHL this season. I think benching Jordan Kyrou, yeah, it certainly raised a lot of eyebrows. Even when our colleague Alex texted the group chat saying this was what went down, I'm like, oh wow, okay, this was a wake up call of epic proportions. Because if you're gonna bench someone who's like, especially who's one of your best offensive players, that is meant to send a message. And message sent, message received. Also, speaking of messages, though, Joel Hofer, how about the 28 save shutout, which, by the way, came on the heels of a pretty darn good relief performance coming in in relief for Jordan Bennington, stopping 15 or 17 shots on Wednesday night in a 6-1 loss to the Capitals. So you talk about someone who not only received the message, but also took it and ran with it as well. But then also, if you're St. Louis, you're looking to build off of this win, considering that this was an impressive bounce back win after a very lackluster performance against the Washington Capitals on Wednesday night.
The Hurricanes on home ice pick up a win over the Minnesota Wild. 4-3 was the final. Let's get a report on this one from the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes. That is Zach Martin.
The Carolina Hurricanes win 4-3 over the Minnesota Wild on Thursday night, going 9-4 on the season. An absolutely wild game, seeing 5 goals in the first period. 3 by the Hurricanes, though. Jackson Blake, Andrei Svechnikov, and Sean Walker. In that period, Nikolai Ehlers makes it 4-3. 9 seconds after Matt Boldy scored his second goal of the game in the second period. Ends up being the game winner. That's now 2 game-winning goals in 2 games for Nikolai Ehlers. Back-to-back games with goals. Sean Walker, back-to-back games with goals himself and multi-point nights. That is 4 points in 2 games. 1 goal and 1 assist in each, and Sean Walker gets the first star of the game. What a win for the Hurricanes. They're now 9-4 on the season, and that's now 2 winning streaks they snapped. Tuesday against the Rangers, and now Thursday against the Wild. What a night for Carolina Hurricanes on Women in Hockey Night.
All right, and thanks to Zach Martin for that report. There was an incident in this game. Minnesota forward Tyler Pitlick was assessed a match penalty for an illegal check to the head of Carolina defenseman Jalen Chatfield. It's an automatic suspension pending a league review. Shoulder to the head. He's going to get suspended without question. But that was one moment from this game that was obviously a little bit ugly. So Carolina, though, responding to that and also getting the victory.
You know, like I certainly, I hate to see that, and I hope that Chatfield has a speedy recovery. But as far as the game is concerned, like this was the way that the game went tonight. I do think that this was a type of game in which that it could have went ugly fast for the Carolina Hurricanes, but it didn't. And I think more than anything else, I think the thing that stood out to me in terms of the Hurricanes is the fact that they remain composed. Yes, they were upset, but they remain composed. And I do think that if you talk about like a team that rallied around it and found a way to get the job done against the Minnesota Wild, this was the game. And I think that that it was really good to see. But man, like that was absolutely tough to see the illegal cross shot to the head, and it does deserve a suspension out of that.
And our final game in Music City, the Predators hosting the Flyers, and Philadelphia pulling out a 3-1 victory. Matvei Michkov and Noah Cates scoring in the second period for Cates. That was the game-winning goal. Travis Konechny would ice it with an empty netter. And Dan Vladar, another strong game in net, only allowing 1 goal on 24 shots. So if the season ended today, the Philadelphia Flyers would be in the playoffs. They are holding on to the final wildcard spot in the East right now.
I mean, the Flyers right now, they are one of the big surprises in the NHL so far in the early portion of the season. But for me, when I look at the Flyers, I think that this is another impressive win on the road, considering that they played one hell of a game the other night against the Montreal Canadiens, and to follow that up with a solid win in which that you saw Dan Vladar can continue to have the stellar season that he is that he has had. And, they won consecutive games after losing the previous two prior to it. You see that this is a team that is playing with a lot more will. After Rick Tocchet called him out, and to see the Flyers respond the way that they have up to this point has been pretty impressive.
If you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL Team podcast and YouTube show for you, except Calgary, but we are working on that. Everybody else, though, we've got it covered. And of course, there is this show for you every night, 7 days a week, all year long, postseason, regular season. It is Locked On NHL Game Night, keeping you updated on the night in the NHL. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube show if you're watching, and also leave your comments on anything that happened in the night in the NHL. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. For Shoe Crew Rights, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.